Hello, welcome to the Daily Message. Throughout most of this week, I'm going to be expanding on some of the points that I made in week 4 of my series on In Search of St. Paul. So during this week, I'm going to be saying a few things about week 4, which has to do with the Jewishness of Paul. And so I'm going to answer the question, where do we see the Jewishness of Paul? Where exactly can we find it? There are several places. The one I'm going to talk about this morning is in the Damascus experience. So Paul's conversion, if you will, his experience on the road to Damascus came to be understood as a conversion from Judaism to Christianity. And that became the interpretation of the Damascus experience pretty much for centuries. But rather than viewing the Damascus experience as a conversion from Judaism to Christianity, I think it makes more sense to talk about it to think about it as a conversion from one type of Judaism to another. In other words, it's a change in Paul's understanding of his vocation. He understood now that he was to be a believer in Christ, and that he was called to be an apostle to the Gentiles. One little clue to that is the fact that Paul's name changes as a result of the Damascus experience. He's no longer called Saul, but he's called Paul. And remember how often in the Old Testament, when there is a change in someone's vocation or calling, Abram to Abraham, Jacob to Israel, there is a change also in their name. And the same thing happens with Saul, who becomes Paul. So Paul's conversion, when viewed that way, is not a change of religions. He went from being a persecutor of Christians to one who was actually being persecuted for being a Christian. And so I ask you to think about that as we continue this week in our series about the search for the genuine St. Paul. Thank you very much. Have a great Monday.